So today is kind of the eve of my 1 year of medical transition, and a lot has happened in that year, let me tell you. It's like gone fast forward. I'm going to read some poems, from my latest collection, which I finished. I thought I had finished it a few weeks ago, but then a new poem emerged, and it sets off the collection quite well, I have to say. So here I am, bleary-eyed, because didn't sleep well, but it's called loop vertigo. Can you see that? All right, so if I had to describe it myself, it's a collection that dazzles and bedazzles. It is not something that I thought I was even capable of. I never thought I'd be able to write this way. And in some ways I feel like sometimes, especially these days when I write, it's not actually me writing. Yes, amanuensis I become. I remember that it was in a line of a poem from when I was 16. But I didn't quite understand why I'd written that. Amanuensis I become. I mean, we can think about scribes like Ganesh, So I just feel like a lot of energies came through me writing Loop Vertigo. Loop Vertigo, thresholds, injunction. Because I have no home, because home is always an open question, I dream of fleeing some perimeter, yet remain or return. Hauntings, a terrible debt accrued through lifetimes are, for Eve Tark, theories of change. How do we pay this? Who is the landlord? How to break free, end, lease. As spirit sheds habitation, like skin, ghost body. Mukti, release. Loop, vertigo. The body is a time machine in reformer motion, tracing curvature of spine like some orbital volley slingshot beyond event horizon. Strapped in, ancient astronaut, you spin to other eras, then snap back again. The wave and the particle. 1. The wave. What is this state? Not of siege, but crashing. Is it your unrecognizability, irreducible, flesh as crucible? Is it because ancestors, faces, male and female, run through you? How do you pivot on this, en pointe, dizzy, ballerina? As a child, you sang praises to God. You were ushered into this world through a misplaced epithet. It turns out hair is important to defer to whiteness. As for gender, one can only say changeling, not of this order. How you were ushered into this order. Birth toll, but not quite. Remnant or revenant. So many leftovers, hang-arounds, ghosts, too Victorian. Even what you think you know about yourself is not a monism, but your hunger is split. 2. The particle. There was never ce sexe qui n'en est pas one to begin with. There was only an intertwining of invented origins, an originary violence, erasure. The body can be haunted. One need not be a house. Speak in multiples. Even when you can't make sense. In theory, diacritically. You dance out of the fire of your own entry. You, outre, the trace burnt clean. You are nothing but movement, reincarnated. Faces of ancestors, carved from temple stone, glint of jawline, gaze down, fleeing touch. You steam windows, mirror traces, lamp you rub, furious to invoke. What threshold crossed? Tenuous border you insinuate presence. Your vapor? Double exposure. Paresthesia. One need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. Emily Dickinson. Having taken a walk on an empty street in Bassendean, under the hot sun, I can also trace a demapping. Mainly the electrical currents when walking. They rise and subside down my leg, as if I am being zapped into another dimension. Sometimes it creeps like prickly heat when the body is at rest. The poltergeist activity dissolves. I am no longer so haunted. Your grid lines and barriers, fire breaks, unmistakably map the signs from body to land. All this makes me wish to take shelter, find refuge. Today, not so bad. Yet the heat was more intense. I just sought refuge. In the well you depict, unused. Now, memory as match cut. Because there is no total recall, yet an elephant never. Because it's always in the room, an insinuation. Because it is spooky action at a distance, bilocational. Because you cannot look away, the explosion is slow motion. This is not a story. It is a slide that clicks into the next while you fall. The screen lit like a pointless bloom. Dazed and pliant, a body carted to sleep. Clay earth speeding by, grass trees spiking your feet. Aging in reverse. Of course, it's just an illusion, but sometimes I see earlier versions of this myself, before the grip of adolescence. Little pixie, little wood gnome, just out of reach. The mirror rebarbative, one border you cannot cross. Faint-hearted narcissus, watery palimpsest. Or palimpsest. The concession to convention in a smile, conjuring like the magic tricks of childhood light. Endless days profit up, sparkling youth, skin, so many drafts unwritten. So that was at the end of the first section, Thresholds. The second section is called Inheritance and has an epigraph. I split between the land of the dead and the living. Featherfoot, Kadaicha. The archives, lost objects. The archives are full of munchis and munshifs, sisters and brothers claiming pensions, widows, murderous acts, deportations, jailers, pedants, clerks, police riders, appellants, a strange baroque world. The criminally insane, workhouses for the poor, leprosy and lost toes, horse handlers and gamblers, convicts sent from Kolkata to the colony of New South Wales. Before direct rule, it was totally handwritten. Depending on the year, it can be legible or a hurried, indifferent scroll. Radha Rai prays for a memorial pension. Third time. Bits you read and bits that disappear. Maybe I should be delving into the occult or consult with an oracle instead. Employ a tantric. Lost objects. Bhavani Datta Lane. Kulad, dried of chai, crushed underfoot, becomes earth as body without spirit turns back to what it rose from, rebirth. Puja, which means offering. Mother, you spoke from that part of yourself that was wounded, yet wished to assist to further knowledge, humble offerings, Mushakta Ganesha at his feet. The scribe and the vehicle. I'm but a church mouse, no harm to anyone. The child could have been kept, there was no need to take them away. As children, inheritors, you drew us elephants. Never forget. How many generations has this been so? Removal, prostrate to an English god. Women kept in a zanana, shamed from public view. What are their names? Say them as you would, the many names of the goddess. Yet you knew I love you. I know. Isabel. To great-great-aunt Isabel Grant, domiciled her whole life at Kidderpore House and obviously put in the orphanage school along with her brother and other siblings. How can I know you except via the mango tree? I climb your branches, seek the uppermost fruit, globes of burnished gold. Here you set roots, immune to the swooping birds, the scrutiny of eyes, envious of your voluptuousness, married only to your hymn of juices, internal sun, such sweetness not to be taken. Even your leaves are pungent and branch out in many directions. Is a bell so redolent, calling forth or merely calling out her name? Were it so easy to go inside those chambers, the mango's heart is ripe. But I can course like a chemical messenger, seeking like you, the goddess particle. Your labours are arduous, you are enough unto yourself. Kidderpore Military Orphanage School, to Frederick Grant, great-great-grandfather, my mother's great-grandfather, brother of Isabel, declared orphan along with them and schooled at Kidderpore. I am your constituent outside, bat in the bell tower, revenant body. The usual tropes, red room, red rum, murder, labyrinthine, what you run from, funhouse mirror, haunted house. Now, the family supernatural. 1. When our older brother died, my mum swore he'd find a way to communicate with us somehow. It wasn't until the divorce and moving house that the first of family supernatural events occurred. My brother began to speak through the switched-off stereo on a radio frequency. It lasted momentarily and then faded. 2. The second example began with nightly forms of bodily pressure. I would go to bed in that same house, but this terrible weight plus inertia would press down on me, making it impossible to fall asleep. It was a state of entropy, annihilation. Housed off in the room with my younger brother down the back, it caused endless nights of insomnia for me as a 12, 13-year-old. I would call for help. My mum would come, give me water, and urge me back to sleep. Until utter tiredness took over, it was impossible. 3. The third example occurred in the house we moved to after that one. My sister experienced presences in her room. One night when her friend stayed over, she too felt them. The Baptists might have called for an exorcism. Not their forte. that being of the Holy See. End of that part. Now moving to part 3, abeyance. Shamelands. I remember walking the Shamelands, aka the Badlands of Armadale, Armorhole, Kelmscott, feeling out of sync, being told I was handsome, pretty, anything, ogled at by girls and women, yes, even grown-ass ones, leered at and felt up by men, and feeling such a freak. Think came up in striped boy drag, never being able to live up to it. The hot feeling of shame, of feeling wrong. That and being called immaculate by the tech drawing teacher or exquisite by the maths teacher. Dying every time. Then going home, leafing through Dolly and Mademoiselle magazines, spinning out at the little rehearsals of popularity and whiteness, teen idols and pastel lipstick. Shame part 2. It's getting hot in here. A. It's your birthday, 15th. Your mother goes out of her way to buy you a pair of Nike shoes, white. Unwrapping, you can only say, I don't like them. Mum had scrimped and saved and for some reason splashed out. All I could see was white. White as a void. I don't like them. Sister chides, how can you be so rude? On your birthday? So ungrateful. I throw them on the ground and leave the room. B. You're 16. It's Christmas Day. Everyone is preparing for church. It seems Mum will sing. I won't go. You will too, says sibling who suffers moral censure, but one that cannot be meted out in this way in reverse. No, I don't believe in God. These words wound. They are final. Excommunication. Later that day, you are gifted Ferrero Rocher. They make your stomach turn. And a book of poetry. You hide in your room. On shame, after watching, sort of. 1. When I was 16, in year 12, at the state's largest and also then very problematic public school, I could not cope anymore with both the school nor the Pandora's box of my own chaos, so I dropped out, unannounced. I did need to tell Social Security, that's my mum drew a pension, right, where my cousin worked. But I knew the ire it would draw from my mother, who always pushed me to succeed. So I didn't tell her, and I feigned attendance. How did I keep it up? Hanging at the railway station, smoking cigarettes, going back to our rental home just after 3 p.m, avoiding questions. Just 5 days in, shit hits the fan. My cousin, who worked for welfare, alerted Mum. Mum wasn't concerned about my state or reasons for dropping out. Instead, you bring shame on the family. 2. I spent the next year or so incommunicado, unable to sleep or concentrate, severely depressed. Mum tells people I have glandular fever. She puts food outside my door if I refuse to come out, frequently. That year I lived as if in a fever dream. Get a job in a bank, Mum said. I was a weirdo, a suburban reject. All I did was write, study flowers, draw botanical representations in my diary. I also wrote out of anger, out of mourning. I wasn't a bad student. I was the best of my year, and, typical of the striving ethos of an Anglo-Indian family, had won awards for being top in maths, history, biology, English literature, chemistry, French, God knows what else. 3. When I went to the library, I just wanted to bury myself. Sometimes that word transsexual surfaced from books. I would stare at it, and also the accompanying photos. The miracle of medical transition, embodied in Sophia Loren type femininity, which I couldn't relate to, although Mum loved her. 4. It took a year to go back to school, that is. I published poems. The family shame no longer? Something she could tell all my aunts. Well, not exactly. Persistence. Fiona Stanley Hospital Geriatrics Ward, February/March 2019. 1. I sleep alongside Mum as she has the antivirals pumped into her overnight, stepping in whenever she bends her arm, the cannula is in the crook of her arm, and cuts it off, to straighten her arm and turn it right again. I will her breathing to regulate, to calm her. Remember yoga breathing, Mum? You can do it. Standing by her bedside during the day, waiting for the doctor doing their rounds, I vividly feel Mum's parents boring their eyes through my eyes, looking out of my skull and saying, heal. 2. As Mum recovers from the brain hemorrhage, she moves from near comatose to chirping and speaking intermittently in jumbled syntax. This happens all night, like some manic bird that knows no difference between daylight and nightfall. When day comes, reassembled, partly she speaks, but it is within the voice of her father, not her. All about India and ayahs, donkeys and whatnot. When she is fully coherent, we tell her and she laughs, that wasn't me. Okay, this next poem is also a Mum poem, but it's going to be hard because it's got scientific language in it and I'm not very good at pronouncing that. Anyway, give me a go. Unbroken. 1. Intimate as one flesh, we read her bodily signs, a language learned in childhood. You know why I brought you korma, Mum? Yes, because you know I like it. Dinner times at this age involve gentle coaxing, a gradual accumulation. The tin of stuffed chilies from Mexico draws the other lady's disgust. She won't do salad with bread. We settle for a movie. The others go to bed. 2. Reversals. I tend to you as once you tended me. Ease you out of bed in an afternoon. Offer you tea. Help you mobilize. Willy Walker always in reach. 3. CT head. Clinical details. Increasingly vague. Past history of left parieto-occipital change. Differential diagnosis. HIV, HSV encephalitis. Sorry for the laughter. Or CAA-related macrobleed. Told you I have problems. Findings. The widespread edema, decreased attenuation within the temporoparietal and occipital lobes has substantially reduced as compared to the prior CT scan performed on 17th of February 2019. The previously documented left parieto-occipital hemorrhage has resolved. There is no evidence of an intercranial space-occupying lesion nor midline shift. The ventricular system, basal cisterns, and cortical sulci are reasonably well maintained. 4. Not just clinical notes. Nothing could encompass. The struggles were from disbelief, as if I wouldn't know my own mother. Sat there over an hour, trembling, at 7 a.m. Refused to eat. The RN notes. She has nausea, I say. Get her some IV Maxilon now, not ondansetron. The patient must be able to state this. Me. I know my mum. 5. When you had an EEG, you were wired for sound, skating through ether, singing the Cliff Richard song. Then back in the room, flying cats. 6. The vertigo of your constant comebacks shocked us out of our skin. One instant fallen, Glasgow scale 6. Next morning up and singing. 7. Time dilated, we swam in it, whole pools of it. The seconds, the minutes stretched out endlessly. This could have been infinity. It was not. You left us when our sun and Antares aligned, the soul portal open. 8. The other night, 5 years hence, my brother reports in a dream, Mum has been calling. When will you pick up? Okay, cartography. I need some water, but whatever. I'll drink that hand sanitizer in a minute. Cartography. Meet your edges. Don't trim them. Edging, sometimes we are pushed towards annihilation or escape. Like cards sent after loss. Apologia, marking exception. Jettisoned from cargo hold. As distance from the dying performs self-reprieve, rather than run into that fire, that white heat, time itself is not so patient. We saw her soul, though. Whole cartographies, Atman, circumference, Vedanta filaments, invoked at hospital bed. One more mum poem, I think. Believing the strangest things, loving the alien, David Bowie. There were 2 films we never watched together, albeit I tried. One was Arrival. That was the time when you'd been in hospital due to the hemorrhagic stroke. You'd come out the other side, were intrigued, but too tired to make it through the whole film. Then there was The Shape of Water. I bought the DVD. This wouldn't be one to share with the ladies. A woman who falls for an amphibian. Loving the alien. Since the film has a 60s ethos, I thought it and the alien would appeal. Also, the key lime pies that make repeat appearances. A luminous fridge full of them. At Yalambee we stored away a vegan version, never eaten. And the film was too long. It got too late. Always running out of time. But where did the time go? Nowhere. We made do with Pillow Talk and Bohemian Rhapsody. Amelia tut-tutting the cruising scene, you calling her antiquated. And yet I picked those 2 films to enter back into your universe. The ecstatic chance of connection to something beyond. In the end, I told you the story of the children's encounter. 1994 Ariel School UFL incident in Zimbabwe. September 16, 1994. Around 60 to 62 school children ages 6 to 12 reported seeing a shiny disc-shaped object land in the bush near their schoolyard during morning recess. They claimed beings emerged from the craft. The beings were described as small, humanoid figures with large black eyes dressed in tight-fitting black clothing. Your pupils widened, taking it all in. Some children later said the beings telepathically communicated with them. Messages reportedly emphasized environmental concerns, especially warnings about humanity harming the Earth's ecosystems and technology being dangerous if misused. Teachers didn't witness the event, but found the children distressed and consistent in their stories. Stories of our lives. Believing the strangest things. Loving the alien. Okay, then we have a last poem in this cycle, Abeyance, and it's pretty hard. Complicity. The open secret operates everywhere. The open secret isn't a typical secret, albeit the victims must bear it. The open secret is tacit acknowledgement. Yes, your time for justice may come, but not now. perhaps never. The open secret tolerates. It defers to power, to time, to priority, to not creating an offence, to permission to perpetrators, to carte blanche forgiveness. You'll have to get in line. Who isn't a victim? You'll need to make your case, present evidence. Why do you keep harping? You live in the past. That's the problem. Put it behind you. The open secret ensures no one needs to take action. It is a state of abeyance, obedience. The open secret has a meniscus. It may callous over, but continues weeping. The whole boiling truth is below the surface, waiting to burst open. The open secret is responded to through sympathy, wringing of hands, crying emojis. Live and let live. Actually die, quickly or slowly. Told you it was tough. Part 3, geographies, and the question that frames it is, do UFOs hover over colonized lands? Ask Claire G. Colebrook. Otherworldly. Armadale Hills sighting. Your pageantry, divine apostasy. Barely a hair's breadth out of line. Silver blue remote vehicle surging through curved space-time, leaving before you arrive. Alien self, insistent as desert bloom. Right there, then gone, in sudden motion, appearing again. I stand agape, wondering at your origins. Neither God nor human, you traverse parallel worlds, electricity's ghost. Out there. Insects trapped and baking on car grill. What gifts we bring. Driving long distances, aircon full pelt, rotting carcass enters lungs. Emu after roo, squashed flat as attack and random cat in the middle of nowhere. Birdwing flaps out of tarry muck. Westfield, now known as Camillo. Black kids besieged, running down between the asbestos fences into laneways, disappearing acts. Remember from a small child's body resisting this order, being bad at sport, hating Mr. Williams with his village people moustache. When Mum and Dad split, we crossed suburbs into Westfield, weekly filled with yellow sand to fill in the swampland, raised and drained. Houses sprung up like weeds. Fun was cracking the carapaces, throwing wads of wet cement at the window panes. Yet every time it rained, the area filled up and became swamp again. Ancestral memory, repressed body. When the waters receded, no doves to herald the way, just raucous pink and greys, sowing the seeds for pigmelon dominion and other wild grasses the birds would feed on. Yandura, where I learned how to swim, as sunlight edged watery as the river itself along the banks and magpies cried in their old aunt voices overhead. I took to the still body smooth as velvet. No one about. I would learn in silence, the best way, on my own terms. My feet smarted on crab claws and all manner of objects, a bed of nails under river's dark embrace. An astronaut freed from the burden of Earth, though not quite. Gravity's pull still obvious, but more a faint echo of home, an anchor useful when coming to shore. It was like being suspended in blood. Life stared all around, every ripple daring reflection dashed by my fingers as I pushed out a newborn fish. Clammy-fleshed, I swam for hours well into night, while back at the holiday house my sister staved off our uncle's clambering touch. I was free from that for once. A reed, a waving filament, a quiet momentary thought. in the mind of the river. Alright, now there's Gaudiya Hat, which is in South Kolkata. And it starts with an epigraph from the independence fighter and poet Qazi Nasrul Islam. His poem Birodi, or the Rebel. I am the unutterable grief. How do I unlock my grief? Its well melts ice flows. A viral load, ancient and dangerous, turned flood. It wants to hide, come out only at night. Avoid daylight, the glare of strangers. How to write it? Bray tongue like a musin. Tear down dawn walls, bear it myself bear. Witness. Now we have a poem called Dread, which in Bengali is an approximation of the English word. You hang by the thinnest, tying, untying, a double movement, trembling reconnaissance. What would they think of? Would they fathom your undoing? I clutch at the merest, tantric, as in reweaving, as in orb spider, from any direction, a self-correction. By this ritual, but you can never. By this ritual I abjure, under the law, whose? Teasing apart each one, 1,000 lemonade, stiff like soin pabdi. Where we overlap, we pull apart, subatomically, adrift. Now the fourth part is called Invocations. Deva Nasi. So Deva means God. And Nasi refers to the nose or breath. God breath. Deva Nasi. I dreamt I was Shiva, moving quickly through asanas. My yogas both Deva and Devi. I dream hallucinations, blowing bubbles, whole universes. Breathe, expand, retract. This dance of origins. Bodhisattva. For Antibud. Named after the bumble sound you made when a child. You surely bud like the lotus floating on your own cloud. I remember when you would visit, it was like the Buddha herself graced us, with cool water tinctures in suburban Perth heat. Your name means potential ascension. I call on it now. Your mastery for breaking cycles as earth turns, celestial queen, morning star. Now this next one is a complex tour de force, which critiques, I guess, the coloniality of gender. She who is not natural, of the ecstasies and the agonies, there's something teleological about all this, swimming in finitude, some Christian eschatology, misplaced or ralenti, but you are part of the denied, the heathen, the androgyne. Think about which hunts. Think about the saints, burning at the stake of your own making, to John d'Arc for my liking, the bed you lie in. Think about empires. Think about empires that fall. The empire of the senseless, as Kathy Acker would hold. Oh, but the ecstasies and the agonies, the transliteration, the transubstantiation of the flesh, when metaphor is your compass, when the word becomes flesh, the voice becomes enfleshed, the skin a codex, spills out in its excess. Yet, Sor Juana wasn't a woman for New Spain. For her time, sacrilegious godhead, no marriage mirage, betrothed to no one, not given to domestic arts. She was other, she was monster, because woman was not capable of reason. They ransacked her brilliance, dispossessed, forced into the streets, her scientific instruments turned out, herself made pauper and sick. Once a marvel to behold, when just 16, hija natural of none, no master, but yes, mistress of my passion, she appeared in the royal court, and became the escort, let's say, of a very important lady. So woman to woman, yet lacking royalty herself, she was always suspect, like all of us, finally. Always subject to queenly and kingly designs, surveillance of bodies, carnal knowledges. And yet we can turn them up, let the carnival run through us. Oh, the ecstasies and the agonies. So it's trans-historical, because it's also about how colonial thinking says that trans people can't be women or men, and defines woman in very narrow terms, as being someone without reason, for example. It's just a new iteration, because trans people are constantly, by the right and TERFs, labelled as irrational. Do you hear me? Okay, let's shift gears. Aroma elixir. Now I want you to think about the perfume aromatics elixir. And I want you to think also about the line, I never thought I'd come to this. I never thought I'd come to this. What's it all about? Yvonne Elliman, right? Aroma elixir. Entropy is infinity. Let's meet there, perhaps in a bar at the edge of the universe. We can hover, enjoy the view, lifetime scrolling on a pianola, the music of the spheres. I'll lean forward while you utter words in code. I never thought I'd come to this. Let's stay here, a mortal's week, admiring Kali's creation. Call and response, a ghost note. We're nearly done. Violet, Violet, I see myself in your tired eyes, your body worn by so many storms, yet holding our histories bound doubly by empire, yet leaving, never at home except in your English garden. Your mother sang at the Crystal Palace. I have a photo, hair ringed by a tiara. Bessie Dore, one of a generation. Brother Sydney left for Brazil, she for Australia, with you. A secret lineage, Ashkenazi. Visible yet English, through and through. In your letters you somehow utter desires imprimatur, the heart of the matter. A South Indian poet, one of several sweethearts, a professor from Sydney, threaded against furious lines on a husband who breached borders, marauder, scored by wars, and earlier departures to Burma, to boarding school. Parents disappeared in train steam. What did you freight in the wake of all this? Flowers, darning needles, decorum, inheritances spent, constant longing for a turn. Auscultations for my brother, and it starts with an epigraph from 21st Century Man from the album Time by ELO. Penny in your pocket, suitcase in your hand, they won't get you very far. Now you're a 21st century man. Didn't make it to the 21st century. Family photographer, when you died, we had no snaps to testify to your existence, except a few. One dressed in suit and tie for year 12 graduation. The irony, you said, I'd never be caught dead in that. Yet it appears laid out for viewing. The sartorial choice contradicted your utterance, a perverse premonition. We scrambled for anything to recover you. Drawings, sketches, notes from cramming for exams. What had been buried? What went under? Suddenly a path was recalled, leading to a mile-routine of all things, meant, it seems, to survive time, unlike you. Odd capsule, a hodgepodge of mementos, set for reveal 50 years later, our Voyager probe, launched not into space, but buried in Earth, never escaping family orbit. Fragments of you, associations, half forgotten. The tin itself struck by the axe to smash path open, broken, already rusted, 2 years in. Tapes, your teenage voice breaking, rusty also, sparring with us kids. At one moment, a little sister says, "I'm bored." You, only boring people get bored. Half mocking. And yet you were always busy, faux scientist with unearthly ambitions, later turned into myth. Scattered remains, paired with the voices in our heads, the deep listening, memory itself, a viewfinder, visions of you, auscultated in dreams. Just a few more. Meantime, 1. Walking these streets in Sydney, adrift through a time slip. Women in stiff collars and long dresses, filing past Camperdown Cemetery with perambulators. The missing men of Missenden. Later, hospital precinct and children with no names. Obstetrics, failed births, bodies taken, bones surging through earth. When you walk these lands, Rosa says, you desecrate. 2. Looking up, a clock face, accusatory, and being watched, on watch. This new town, a border town as Nick Estes names it, capital, trade, settlement, massage parlours, pawn shops, no different to mining town. Natives also moved on. 3. Back near Queen Victoria Memorial, the hard circle stares at me, judging. Panopticon or portal, the same face stamped across continents. Bombay, March 1898. The plague sweeps through the city. The military takes over. The British outlawed street marketeers take the cream off the crop. Corralled into Crawford Market, a white austere building with its own imperious look. The same clock face, overseeing, marking time, profit. Taxis levied on those unruly, now ruled. The hawker, the bazaar. 4. 1 week in March, mirror to my awkward march, stared at by moon-face, inquisitor clock, stumbling at twilight. There's a riot. The clock face is shot. Raj officials shocked crack down on the insurgents. The locals only say, killing time. 2 more. Kolkata. 1. City haunted by its dark mirror. The Britishers all but gone, leaving their stained statues, reliquaries, marble monuments. In this city, even Esplanade resembles London's Angel. Same designer, different intention, both blackened by soot. England's soil transplanted to earth nourished by Ganges Delta, vampiric transfer to Mother India of fatherland. Cross into West Kolkata. Don't get out of your depth. They say Muslims only. Hear its noise and goats at the path. I rebut, I'm in my element. Tired of high-class shopping malls. The private driver. 2. At Park Street Cemetery, I look for Rebecca O'Sullivan, stepmom to Una, buried somewhere, but it is impossible to find out. The tombstones are stacked dominoes. The vista, a deserted planet choked of oxygen. No markers except for the richest Anglo-Indian families. 3. Now a new funeral takes place in this Christian cemetery. Casket heaped with flowers. Flanked by mourners, an old woman tending the graveyard asks for rupees. Call to prayer climbs the air, summons me to leave. Later, I will dream of lying down on these streets, in grief, in supplication. For even if my grandfather, his mother, trod here, took chai, walked past the same houses of Baliganj, they too are gone, migrated, and history now, underground, stiff vestiges of imperial ruin. And now the last poem, Isthmus. I wrote this a couple of days ago. It's got a quote from the Persian poet Omar Khayyam. The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. Nor all thy piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all thy tears wash out a word of it. So this is in part my response to that. Lord Hecatl, with your hand in esta tierra ventosa, unwind this wind, your talking whirlwind. Lift me aloft there, take me whole to that other place still. Do not erase, even as you witness, move, remove all. Let your force be memory, clearing appurtenances, history's lies. Undo that line, that border. Do not be but what you are. The way the trees grow and bend toward you is your lesson, reknitting the bonds, remaking from ground to heaven, reverse lightning. You carry all, Lord Hecatl, electric, eye that shapes as it cleans, laser vision. Thank you for listening. And I'll let you know how things go. Put some comments below.